fund it. Aren't you, on the one hand, saying, leave us the health personnel, and in the same vein saying that give us some chunk of security so that we play a part in the county police? So which one do we take? Your view that your personnel in your function should be left to you, and also the national government be left its function of the county police authority? It's not very clear to me. I'll start from Bishop Njenga.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is just a minor one. The whole question of transfer of funds, Chairman COG, what is this problem that you talk about? What is there? Why can't it be done straight according to the stipulations? And then once the money comes to you...
Sorry. For funds,
Yeah.
Okay.
But when the money comes to you, we have been told that there is a tendency of holding that finance before it is distributed from the governor's office to the relevant situations and bodies further down, which you did not comment very much about, as we have recommended in our report.
Lawrence? One.
No, mine is already answered.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Bishop. Simeha?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Simeha, member of the team of experts. Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman, and strictly sticking to what you said, but my question has part A and B, but it's just one question. On the recommendation made on structure of government at the national level, I'm sure the steering committee would appreciate as much clarity contributed by different citizens as possible. And here I'm speaking specifically about where you talk about office of the leader of official opposition. And you talk about leader of the party or coalition of parties with the second largest number of seats. Have you applied your minds on whether, the possibility rather, of this party or coalition of parties being the one that has produced the president? In that case, then what happens? And part B is of my question is a raft of things you raised for Commission for Revenue Allocation to handle, which is a commission that depends on data from many other institutions. What about the Council of Governors worries about completion of the transfer of functions? Is the Council contended that the Transition Authority and its successor have actually done their job and completed that process of transfer of functions? Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I teach at the university, and those questions are totally unrelated, so they can't be A and B. So from now, one question. Seth?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is just one on security to the COG chair. You had mentioned that you would want county governments to be represented in the National Security Council. Can you please elaborate on that? Thank you.
Next one.
Thank you very much. My name is Ndegwanjiro Advocate. My question goes to the question of the strengthening of the county assembly vis-a-vis its role on the question of oversight. You remember and you recall that a pattern of the BBI is to deal with the question of corruption. We have seen experience where the county assembly or the county executive infiltrates in the functions of the county assemblies, maybe by making sure that they have one of the favorable speaker or one of the favorable leader of majority, and they infiltrate that institution of the county assembly, and that infiltration puts or compromises the question of oversight. To an extent that the executive is not then...
Just ask the question.
To an extent that the executive is not questioned, how do you propose to strengthen the institution of the county assembly vis-a-vis oversight?
Next. For those who are carrying their hands out there, this is only for the steering committee and their technical team. Agnes?
Thank you, Chair. Mine is on page 7 about the sharing of revenue. You've just told us that this should be done after public participation, but when we went down to the ground, people were really complaining that the public participation that is done there is just like a formality and they are not given the chance to do it properly. What are you planning to do about this going forward?
Thank you. Attorney General Emeritus, one question. On you have to be very strict. I know how you usually...
I'm very close to you, so since you have allowed yourself to, maybe 1.5. One, I just want, maybe I did not hear it properly, the word Equitable Development Fund. If I understood your former memo, it was 30%. But if I understand you now, you have reduced it to 10%. I just want to know the reasoning behind it. Why reduce it from 30 to 10%? Here it is 30%. Your former memo said 30%, but you say 30% is a typographical error. Two, on the issue of the Attorney General being independent, would you extend the same independence to the county attorney? Three.
No.
Oh, okay. I leave it there.
Leave it there. So, Chairman of Council of Governors, you can see how you distribute the questions to your membership, and you can get.
I will obviously allow my colleagues here also to make comments after. On Health Services Commission, I would like our chair of Human Resource to make a comment on that. On transfer of funds, let our finance chair is here make a comment on that. And then on opposition, you can, Waiguru here can help us on that. On Nairobi, you see the people of Nairobi have already been given a county. And we do not want to find ourselves in a situation where Nairobi people are deprived the chance to elect leaders that will steer this particular county or Nairobi as a city. So Nairobi people, like any other Kenyans, must be given a chance to elect. Even those particular cities you are talking about, they have elected leaders. They have the mayor, they have what. It's only that there is an arrangement where the national government sort of oversights them, but otherwise they have elected. And the same situation we have Nairobi the way it is. We can have an oversight, a more oversight and special support from national government. That's what I'm saying. But the people of Nairobi should not be deprived a chance to elect their people to represent their interests. On community policing authority, I think we are very clear. Security is a unique issue. It's not like providing health and so on. Security affects everybody. And you can see what is happening in Mandera now. I've just been talking to the governor of Mandera. Is Nairobi here mobilizing his own members of parliament to see how they can together deal with the issue in Mandera. And I think your chair here knows. So we are saying on security because it is unique. At least the member of the Council of Governors should be represented on the National Security Council, and because of that. And the issue of county policing authority, that's why it was brought up, even before we thought what we are thinking. It was brought up in legislation that there must be a role that the governor should play as the head of the county government, as the head of the county. And that's why County Policing Authority was created. The only issue, it has not been operationalized. And whoever did that thought that security being unique, the county government must be involved. And on that pretext, that's why we say not involvement only at the county level, but also at the national on level. Now, on transfer funds, I've left it on my colleague here to comment. Security Council, I think I have commented on that. On county assemblies, they have their own funds. County assemblies, like National Assembly here, they have their own calendar. They organize themselves. We have a little role that we play as the executive at the county level. Their money is predetermined by the CRA. The money, the allocation is predetermined. We don't determine at the county level. The only issue that the money flows together to the county, and then it is split by the county executive in charge of finance. Otherwise, they have their own county, and the Senate has also a role to make sure that the county assemblies are empowered to provide an oversight. The issue of speaker and whoever, majority leader, minority leader, this has nothing to do with the executive at the county level. This is a political process. It's a party affair. The party at the local level, even at the national here, you see the speakers. The two speakers never came from opposition. They came from the government side. So the same arrangement, and this arrangement is all over the world. It's not Kenya that is unique. Yeah? So it is a party affair. The party that wins, that has majority, always produces the speaker. Because you want to have an agenda go through. You have come up with the promises. You must make sure that those promises are able to be implemented as quick as possible. So by electing and a speaker, it's just he presides over. The whole other issues are done by the county assembly. So I think I have explained that. Whatever you do, the speaker will come from the majority.
We agree with you. It's an elective post.
Yeah.
You can't define it anywhere.
You can't. It is very difficult. The issue of corruption, I think we have institutions in this country that have been mandated to fight corruption. And well-funded, EACC, we have even control of budget have a role, Auditor General has a role, we have the National Assembly, the Senate, we have institutions, many of them. What we need is to strengthen this particular institution. But it becomes a problem if the same institutions also become corrupt, then it becomes a big issue. So this is an issue that we should look at it soberly as Kenyans. The issue of sharing of revenue and public participation. As you know, we had Function 14, which most of the counties have not implemented because of financial constraints. Because if we were to implement Function 14, all counties, it will mean we shall all have councils at the local level, councils that will be discussing these issues openly. And unfortunately, we do not have these councils at the local level because of the financial implications. So you call a meeting for public participation, people come, and they will come there and tell you, Mheshimiwa, you know, niliwacha kasi yangu, nipa haki yangu nataka kwenda. So how do you deal with such issues? So this is a problem issue that you do not even point fingers at the county governments only, and even at national level. To make people sit here like this, the way they are sitting, it's not for free. You must make sure that these people are transported there, they are facilitated, and so on. If you do it free, or if you talk to them, they give you views, and you walk away, they will start tearing papers and throwing those papers to you. So this is really an issue that we have to look at it even at the national level. Equitable Development Fund, I have said this was an error. 30%, if you took 30% to wards, then you will never do development of major projects. Like me, I'm building a hospital for 6 billion. How will you have such a project if everything is going to the wards? So 10, even at the national level, is 2.5%. So we are saying 10%. Because you will expect ward projects to be small projects that touch on the lives of people. And that's why we are saying 10% of development budget will be fairly adequate to enable you as a county carry out all other functions. Like you need a big water project that transcends the entire county. How will you do it if you don't have enough resources? You want to build a big hospital that helps the entire county. You can't say you are building a hospital for a ward. You are building a big hospital for the entire county. You are building a stadium for the entire county. So how will you do this? If you have all funds going for small things, people will have too much of small things and they don't have too much of also big things. And that will create inequity in the system. Yeah. The independence of the county attorney, I will support you on that. If that is passed, and then that should be guaranteed. Now, I will invite you to comment on opposition and so on.
Chairman, thank you. Just to say that we actually, it's pretty clear on the presentation. We have said leader of the party or coalition of parties with the second largest number shall be the leader of the official opposition. So it applies that if you happen to have two major coalitions, then the leader of the official opposition will be the one of the coalition of parties that forms the second largest number of seats. So it applies both ways. Just the same way, if there is a coalition of parties, the leader of that party then would be assumed will be the person who will take over the seat of the Prime Minister. So we've put it very clearly that it's both, either whether it's single or coalition of parties. Yeah.
But they had also said, what about the party with the majority? The president has the minority. What happens? Who appoints the Prime Minister, or does the Prime Minister come from the opposition? I think that's the clarification they wanted to know.
I think originally we had proposed, I think it has been changing and evolving over time. The original discussion had been that the Prime Minister will be the leader of the party or coalition of parties that has the majority of seats. And that will be appointed by whoever is elected by universal suffrage as the president. So it doesn't really matter whether the president has fewer seats if he is the one who has been elected by the people of Kenya to be the president, then he has been given the mandate to appoint the Prime Minister based on the law. I think that will be fairly straightforward. The seat of the president is not determined by the number of seats that he has. It's determined by the number of votes that they get from the public through a process of universal suffrage. So even if the president doesn't have the majority of the seats, but elected by the majority of Kenyans, that is the president of the Republic of Kenya.
I will also just comment on that. It will be very tricky, and that we have a Prime Minister from the opposition because they have the majority of seats. Because as a president, you have an agenda. And imagine if you have an agenda which has to be moved forward by a Prime Minister who is not in your party. That becomes tricky. I think that's something that we can leave you to look at. But in normal circumstances, you will find that the Prime Minister comes from the same party with the President because of the agenda. Otherwise, you will now have pull and push, and the people will suffer as the citizens of the country because of that pull and push. The Prime Minister, who is now in the opposition, and we have a strong opposition leader, will form a parallel government, and it will be a very big issue. Yeah. On human resource.
Thank you very much. On human resource, I think this issue has probably been pushed a bit too far, and you need to understand the history. I'll just spend 1 minute to tell you the history. The history started with the union itself, not wanting to have a situation which they couldn't manage because of the devolved nature of the human resource that they were.
Please have one meeting, please.
Thank you very much, and thank you for helping me, and we'll probably talk with those people since we know them. What I was saying is that when this started, and I've been chair of human resources since we formed the council, it started because the unions in the health sector just found it difficult to deal with the counties. They also wanted one body which organizes all of them for very many reasons, including the contributions that are coming. The second reason was that we had a ministry which did not completely accept devolution. They didn't accept that this function goes away. What would happen if you brought in a health service commission? These people are working for us, but they get employed by somebody in Nairobi. How do you handle matters of discipline? How do you handle matters of local transfers? How do you handle matters of promotion, which should be based on work performance? How do you handle quite a number of issues? You would create a monster here that you can't actually manage. The same situation would go, our vice chair, the vice chair of this committee of yours, is an employee of the University of Nairobi. If he was an employee of the Ministry of Education, and then he's working in the University of Nairobi, how would the University of Nairobi manage him if he's indisciplined? What actually happens? So we have a situation here where you will answer to an imperative of a certain group of persons, which imperative is completely against the devolution system, where you would want to see services at the local level completely strengthened, and commissioners and members here would want to tell you that over the period, don't listen to what people are saying. Health services in the counties has completely improved because of devolution, and we would want to see that strengthened. You now are seeing very many doctors going for master's training. All of them here, my chair here can tell you, in Kisii County alone, I have 70 doctors that are doing master's training, and I'm paying for their salaries. At the end of the day, they are going to be specialists in oncology, in pediatrics, in all this, in general surgery and so on, a situation which was not happening before. So I would want to disabuse this. Please don't go this route. You would be creating a situation. I did see the Cabinet Secretary for Education indicating that he has provincial education officers who are actually completely redundant in the field because of what was created. They have absolutely no role, and educational standards are in a big mess. So and then you see all these fights. So we are saying don't go this route. Accept this baby, allow the baby to grow, allow the baby of devolution to grow. Because this baby is going to grow, this baby is going to, and also let's not allow unions to basically push us to the limit so that they get what they want. At the moment, they have to deal with each of these counties, and they're finding it a bit difficult. So they want one place that they go to once, and I don't think that that's the route to go, frankly. As for relating this with the police authority, you know, the police authority is not, the county governments being involved is not an executive function. What you are creating here is an executive function. But the policing authority, the governor just comes in as a chair, so that he can, the actual executive authority of security at the local level is done by the Ministry of the Interior, and will continue being done by the Ministry of the Interior, or whichever name that you are is going to be given. It used to be the Ministry of Provincial Administration and Internal Security. But the governor comes in so that he sits in this committee and is given information what's going on. He does not handle the executive functions. So that example is not suitable in relation to the argument that we have got here. Thank you.
Yes. Thing to do with funds, you can re-emphasize based on the questions.
Thank you, Chair. I think there was a question on transfer funds, and I think the person asking was asking why it's not happening. And I think in the presentation by the chairman, we have raised a number of 2 or 3 issues why that is not happening. I think it's just the approval process. That to get these funds approved for payment, we have to get our officers travel all the way from our counties to Nairobi to come and camp at the control of budget for 2 or 3 days. And that is why our recommendation is that it's more of an administrative recommendation, that can be done at the county level, because the control of budget in this country has offices at a regional level. We don't understand why that should be done at the offices in Nairobi. Secondly, I think what he also raised is the issue of the transfer funds from the central bank to the county revenue account. Also, that has to be done at the central bank in Nairobi. We have central banks in Kisumu, Eldoret, Mombasa. I think if counties can be clustered around those, so those approval should be done. If that is done, then it will ease the transfer funds for these counties, and I think that's what we're saying.
Let me also emphasize something that I had. I thought you were going to comment on it, that money comes and is stuck at the office of the governor. There's nothing of the sort. County governments have accounts at Central Bank of Kenya. There is no other bank. So money will not go to the office of the governor. What will money be going to the office of the governor to do? In what form? So all county governments, if you need to open an account, it must be at Central Bank. And that county is then hooked on the IFMI system. And then it is a payment directive. You are paying suppliers. And that's why we were saying that Central Bank should also be decentralized. Like us, we are closer to Kisumu or Eldoret. Let's go to Eldoret. We take our list of payment to Central Bank, and they wire the money direct to the suppliers' accounts. Direct. There are no check system. Nowadays, there's no check system. So in the case of anything, you can know from Central Bank where money has gone. So there is no account that is held at the governor's office. So money is never stuck there, and the governor has no role on the flow of funds at all. Yeah. The role is restricted to the control of budget and the central bank. These are the 2 institutions that activate the flow of funds. And of course the treasury, which releases after control of budget has approved.
Bishop Njeka,
where money was found in the office of the governor.
This is an orderly meeting, Bishop Njenga. Please.
That's why you are in court. That's why the governor is in court, if that's the case.
Okay, thank you very much.
Vice Chair, just a quick one. Just that one of the issues that we have also proposed in terms of transfer funds especially in respect of conditional grants. And I think this is happening when money is transferred from the development partners to national government before then it's transferred to the counties. Our recommendation there is, I think we need to find a way where development partners can deal directly with the counties once that has been budgeted and agreed, so that it doesn't have the delays of going through the national treasury.
Thank you very much, both Major and Archbishop. Major, you come from a disciplined force. We had already closed the questions, and we are running out of time. The caucus of Nairobi leadership, led by Johnson Sakaja, is around, so we want to bring closure to this. Before I give the chair, I'll just pass a message that has been passed by some of the steering committee members. Number one, so as to let us make a decision, especially on the persuasive issue of the Health Service Commission, if you can avail to us the data of doctor employment before devolution and after devolution, so that it helps us make that decision. You can bring it later. You can bring it later, not now. The other issue that Attorney General Emeritus, I stopped him from asking, he has been nagging me throughout, that in your Bill of Rights, you say what the President should do annually to Parliament in terms of various articles. He's asking if the governors can do the same to the County Assembly for health, housing, and agriculture that are devolved functions, so that you update the county.
That one we do. That one we do. It's a requirement, so we address.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll now ask the chair to make the last statement, that then immediately finishes, you'll officially hand over the document to the chair.
I will request before he makes final remarks that we need to clean up this document.
Fine.
Then thereafter, maybe with the additional information we require, we will bring them together.
No problem.
For the cameras, you can just give
okay, fine.
Yes.
I'll do that. And then take it back.
Actually, I was asking him that this document is not signed, so I'm sure you did it purposely so that you can bring one correct. Anyway, I want to thank you once again for talking to us about what you feel need to come into the validation that we are going to make after the original report of BBI. And I must thank you because you have made our work very easy, that you have stated what should be legislative and what laws need to be changed. That also makes our work very, very easy, really, and we thank you for that. The question of Nairobi, originally the BBI was just a recommendation. There was no way we can say that you do A, B, C, D. We were just suggesting what is ideal, what we consider to be very ideal, out of what we have had when we were going around. The question of representation is very important, and I don't see in any way how Nairobi people can lose electing their own representatives, in spite of the fact that the area will not be called a county. It can be given another name. So that one, I can assure you that it was not the intention of our BBI report that Nairobi people should be denied to elect their leaders. With those few remarks, I say once again thank you very much, and we are looking forward to receive your final document.
In the meantime, you will present the one which you will retract.